does not lead to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana, but only to reappearance in the base of nothingness. Now the word that's translated here, reappearance, actually a better translation would have been rebirth. It leads only to rebirth in the base of nothingness. Okay, what is meant here? According to the Buddha's teaching, our different states of consciousness, different states of mind, are seeds with the potential to lead to rebirth in different realms of existence. So any kind of ethically determinate state of mind is the seed of a rebirth in another realm of existence. Or in some, let's say, the seed of a rebirth in some realm of existence. So if I do the types of deeds typical of a hell realm, for example, killing, harming, injuring other beings, slandering good and worthy people, going around all the time with a mind of hatred and resentment, that state of mind will function as the seed for a possible rebirth in a hell realm. If I have a mind, mental states which are generally a mixture of good and bad, say a predominance of good, wholesome states, but with some bad, unwholesome states, that kind of mind is likely to be the seed for a rebirth back into the human realm. If I have a very pure, very good and worthy state of mind most of the time, very generous, very loving, thoughtful, kind, compassionate, that kind of mind is the seed for a rebirth into one of the lower heavenly realms. Now, if I refine that good mind through the practice of meditation to the point that I'm able to gain a state of samadhi, the different levels of samadhi are the seeds for rebirth in the higher heavenly realms. And so there are states that correspond, states of rebirth that correspond to the 4 jhanas. For example, if I master the 3rd jhana, then when I pass away, my mind will tend to take rebirth in the level, that heavenly world that corresponds to the 3rd jhana. If I master the 4th jhana, I'll tend to take rebirth in that heavenly realm corresponding to the 4th jhana. If I master the base of infinite space, there is a realm corresponding to that state. If I master the base of infinite consciousness, there is a realm corresponding to that state. If I master the meditation of the base of nothingness, then my mind will tend to take rebirth in the realm of nothingness. That's a realm, very, very subtle realm, that corresponds to the meditative state of the base of nothingness. And it's said that in these realms, the mind is very peaceful, very calm, in a state of almost undisturbed equanimity for thousands and thousands of kalpas. You know what a kalpa is? A kalpa is a cosmic aeon. So if we take the example of what's called the Big Bang, that's the time from this particular world system begins just as a point of very intense light. It's just suddenly it explodes, and then space comes into being, and very quickly the universe, starting as a point of light, starts to expand till matter starts to form, the material particles cluster to form atoms, the atoms draw together to form the first stars, the stars draw together to form the first galaxies, the first generation stars explode, then the debris of those exploding stars form the second generation of stars, and the dust matter left by the first generation stars coalesces to form planets. Then we get the world system expanding, expanding, expanding. Now it's said to be something like 14, 15 billion years. Maybe it goes another 15 billion years. So 30 billion years of expansion. Then the expansion slows down, followed by a period of contraction, maybe another 30 billion years. So altogether 60 billion years. That's one kalpa. Now, the lifespan in the base of nothingness is said to be 60,000 kalpas. That means 60,000 big bangs, expansion of the cosmos, contraction of the cosmos, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. Do that 60,000 times, and that is the lifespan in that realm. And so the meditation masters of that time would have, some of them would have been able to enter into that meditative state, and they would have experienced it as so peaceful, so tranquil, completely undisturbed, and they would have had some sense that if I get my consciousness, when this body falls away, my consciousness will go to that realm and remain there forever. That's what they thought. So that is eternity. That is liberation. That's the state of complete spiritual perfection. And that's what they thought. But somehow the Bodhisattva, the future Buddha, probably through his very deep and sharp wisdom, would have understood that this state is not the real liberation, that this is not an eternal state. But after mastering that attainment, one gets reborn there, one dwells there for such an inconceivably long period of time, and then it's a little bit like this thing. Bang! After 60,000 aeons. Bang! Very soft and gentle. Bang! Bang! Emerge. My samadhi. What is that? Then no body, no substance, but a little guy taps me on the shoulder and says, "Time's up, my friend." And I say, "What do you mean time's up?" He says, "You'll see." And then, zoop! I'm down in the mommy's womb. 9 months later, ow, 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 rubbing my eyes. What's going on here? Doctor slaps me behind. Then I start wailing, "Milk, milk, milk." Then, 5 years old, mommy says, "You're starting kindergarten," finish kindergarten, elementary school, junior high, high school, college applications, what graduate school should I go to? Have to get a job, falling in love, getting married, having children, all over again, all over again. What was that?
I said, "Oy vey is here, what a bunch of sewers."
Bunch of...
Oy vey is here, what a much as Surus.
Surus.
You should know.
Like face man. I don't think I've heard that expression since.
You know it though.
Yeah, I know it.
And Surus.
Surus, I don't remember.
Like a pain in the...
Pain in the...
Yeah,
Pain in the tuchus.
Surus, my son, he's a schmuck, he's always in jail, he gives me Surus.
Okay, so then, so that's the way it is, you know, if you get into the base of nothingness. Okay, so the Buddha would have maybe been reflecting on, oh my God, I have to apply to college again? Grad school? I don't want that anymore. So he thought, enough with this Dhamma. Okay, so then he was dissatisfied with that, disappointed, he leaves. Okay, so then still searching, again he's probably meeting wanderers, wandering ascetics on the roads, asking, who is the accomplished one? Then they point him to somebody named Uddaka Ramaputta. Uddaka would have been his proper name. Ramaputta means the son of Rama. Now this is important, because the Bodhisattva says, I want to lead, again, the holy life in this Dhamma and discipline. Uddaka Ramaputta says, you may stay here. Again, he praises the teaching. The Bodhisattva learns it. And then now the Bodhisattva reflects. He says, it was not through mere faith alone that Rama declared, by realizing this for myself with direct knowledge, I enter and dwell in this Dhamma. Now you see, Uddaka Ramaputta himself had not himself mastered that higher meditative state. Uddaka is the son of Rama, and he must have taken his own father as his spiritual teacher. Apparently Rama himself is dead at this time. And so they remember Rama as somebody who has reached the highest meditative state. But even his son has not yet reached it. But his son was probably the most advanced meditator in the group, and maybe it's a kind of transmission from father to son. And so Uddaka is the head of the group, but all he can do is explain what his father had achieved. Okay, so the Bodhisattva goes to Uddaka and says, what did Rama declare? How did he realize it? And then Uddaka, the son, explains the meditative state, which is called the base of neither perception nor non-perception. So this is the fourth formless meditation. I said there were 4 formless meditations. The third is the base of nothingness, which the other teacher realized, Alara Kalama. But Rama had achieved the 4th formless attainment, the base of neither perception nor non-perception. It's a state which is said to be so subtle that one can't declare definitely there is perception here, but at the same time one can't say there's no perception here. It's the most refined possible state of mundane consciousness. Okay, so as in the previous case, the Bodhisattva reflects that he wants to realize this for himself. He makes the effort. He attains that state. He attains the base of neither perception nor non-perception. Then he goes to Uddaka Ramaputta and he says, was it in this way that Rama declared that he entered upon and dwelt in this Dhamma? Uddaka says, that is the way, friend. then Uddaka praises him and says, it's wonderful, it's a great gain for us that we have such a fellow. He says, that is the state that Rama declared, the same state that you declare. And so everything is the same as previously, except now Uddaka Ramaputta says, he says, as Rama was, so are you. As you are, so is Rama. Come, friend, now you lead this community. So this is different from the previous case. Here, Uddaka is not saying we will be the co-presidents of the corporation. But Uddaka is saying, I step down, I will be the vice president of the corporation. You be the president. You're a more skilled businessman than I am. You've gotten, you've caught the trick for working the ropes of the company. I'm still learning the ropes. Okay, so now the Bodhisattva thinks, he says, thus Uddaka Ramaputta, who had been my companion in the holy life, placed me in the position of a teacher. He's saying, now you are even my teacher. And he gave me the highest honor. But then it occurs to him that this Dhamma does not lead to disenchantment, dispassion, cessation, peace, direct knowledge, to enlightenment and nibbana, but it leads only to rebirth in the base of neither perception nor non-perception. That is, above the sphere of nothingness, in which the lifespan is said to be 60,000 kalpas, there is another sphere called the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception, where the lifespan is said to be 80,000 or 84,000 kalpas. And so here, while the lifespan of the people in the base of nothingness comes to an end at 60,000, you get to go on another 20,000, 24,000 big bangs, world expansion, world contraction. And then, for that reason, those who reach that attainment thought, this is nirvana. This is the absolute perfect state of peace. But then, at the end of the 84,000th world cycle, the alarm goes off. Bang, bang. Haven't heard that in a long time. What's going on here? Again, the little finger taps you on the non-existent shoulder and says, guess what, my friend? What? Time's up. Then, exactly as the 84,000th aeon comes to an end, drop down out of the sphere of neither perception or non-perception, and back down into the mommy's womb, and out into the world after 9 months, and again, kindergarten, nursery school, kindergarten, elementary school, junior high, high, college, graduate school, the business world, the professional world, old age, aging, retirement, getting sick, and death. So the Bodhisattva thinks, that's not for me. And then he goes on searching. So he gets dissatisfied with that Dhamma, and then disappointed, he leaves it. Okay, any questions?
Remember,
Maybe good to take the mobile microphone.
when you first introduced the state of the infinity of space,
No.
you talked about he had the mental perception.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering about what the reference of mental is. Is it just cognitive stuff, or is it citta, or?
Of course, it's the citta. The citta is what is aware of the object. The object is said to be the base of the infinity of space.
I have other questions, but I don't necessarily have to take them in mind all.
Okay, why don't you just go ahead and ask?
Okay. You talk about the sphere of consciousness, or the sphere of these. I'm interested in this idea of sphere. Why is that the image or the metaphor? What's the word in Pali that?
Okay, the word that's used for that is translated by some as sphere, some as, here it's translated base. The Pali word is ayatana. Ooh. It's okay. It's okay. I think the original sort of metaphorical meaning of ayatana is a piece of land which is spread out and extended. And so the word that's used sometimes in relation to a place where, like, cattle, certain types of cattle are grown. That is like the base for this type of cow. The certain territories we call the ayatana for horses. Okay, then it comes to be applied to objects of perception and also the sense faculties, which are bases for the arising of consciousness. And then it also comes to be applied to certain realms of rebirth that correspond to these meditative attainments.
And finally, and this one may not be worth the time, even if that takes to ask, but how in this, when one is in the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception, I know it's a serious question, it sounds silly. How do you hear the bomb?
Oh, I was just speaking.
No, what happened?
Oh, I see. You're asking that question.
Yes. It just happens. I mean, we don't need a bomb, but how is one aware that time is up, or it's just up?
I think it just, the time just goes by. When the lifespan comes to an end there, then the consciousness falls away from that state.
I have a question about the word bodhisattva.
Yeah.
Because bodhi means enlightened.
Yeah.
But the Buddha said when I was still unenlightened.
Yeah.
Bodhisattva, so it's self-contradictory. And I remember on another occasion you explained bodhisattva has two meanings. One of them is a person seeking enlightenment. So can I conclude that at least in the Nikayas, that term can never be rendered as enlightened being, but only can be interpreted as a seeker at most. So by no means can it be referred to being transcending beyond the round of birth and death.
Okay, that's the end of the question. Yeah. First, let me get into the matter of the derivation of the word bodhisattva. Because I mentioned that in a very early class, I think, when I was working through the other book. So some people haven't gotten that point. This has to do with the difference between Pali or other Middle Indo-Aryan languages and Sanskrit. Okay, in Pali and whatever other early Middle Indo-Aryan languages the Buddha would have used, the word would have been bodhisattva, which is bodhi means enlightenment. Then the word sattva, it's a little ambiguous in Pali. It can mean, in Sanskrit, either sattva, which means a being. So this would be a being who is not already enlightened, but a being who is seeking enlightenment, the enlightenment of Buddhahood. So a being who is seeking to become a Buddha. But the word sattva is rendered into Sanskrit as sattva. And that is the course that the word took when texts were transposed from the Middle Indo-Aryan languages into Sanskrit. The translators took bodhisattva to mean bodhisattva. But the Pali or Middle Indo-Aryan word sattva could also be or correspond to Sanskrit sakta, which means one intent upon, one devoted to. And so the original word could have been bodhisattva, which in Pali or some Prakrit would have become bodhisattva. But the original intention was lost, and instead it was transformed into bodhisattva. So far there's no way that we can know for sure. But in either case, in the early Buddhist teachings, there's no idea that a bodhisattva, even if it's bodhisattva, is already enlightened. But he's rather one who is seeking to become enlightened. And then when a bodhisattva becomes enlightened, he becomes enlightened as a Buddha. Does that answer the question?
But you still accept the ambiguity there. There's no...
Yeah, it's ambiguous. There's no way to resolve it. And even the Pali commentary gives both derivations. Yes.
Okay, I've got a little bit of the devil in me. Does the bodhisattva become a Buddha or an Arahant? I said a bit of the devil in me today.
There's no devil. A Buddha is also an Arahant. Okay, but a bodhisattva, the way the word is used in the early texts, the Nikayas, the bodhisattva is one who, when he becomes enlightened, he becomes a Buddha. But a Buddha is also an Arahant. But a bodhisattva doesn't become an Arahant who's not a Buddha. So in other words, the Buddha uses the word bodhisattva to refer to himself or to other Buddhas prior to their enlightenment, when they were on their quest for enlightenment. Okay, let me take some of the internet questions. Okay, is there any... Some of these questions are very specialized, so either about words or about the nature of nirvana. I mean, I just want the questions really to be relevant to the topic of the discourse. By these 7 states, disenchantment, dispassion, cessation, peace, direct knowledge, enlightenment, nibbana, each one progressively superior to the one before. I'd say definitely nibbana is put at the end because it's the culmination of the series. we go disenchantment leads to dispassion, maybe dispassion to cessation, cessation to peace. I don't know, there's some ambiguity at certain points. But definitely enlightenment and nibbana are the two highest of the seven. And disenchantment, dispassion are the beginning of the seven. Okay, we'll have to stop now, stop the discussion now, and then come back after lunch for discussion, questions, answers. A few just giveaways that I have. I'm still trying to give away this catalog to the Omega Center in Upper New York State, Rhinebeck, New York. There is the new catalog for the New York Open Center, spring, summer programs. Then this is a West Coast Dharma magazine called Inquiring Mind. They asked me to write the column for each issue, so they give me extra copies. So anybody wants a copy, you're welcome to take. Okay, we'll end with the sharing of the merits, and then we'll take a break. Akasata chabhumata deva naga mahitika punyantang anumoditva chiram rakantu sasanam. Akasata chabhumata deva naga mahitika punyantang anumoditva chiram rakantu desanam. Akasata chabhumata Deva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chiram rakantu mam param etavata mehi sampadam punya sampadam sabbe devanam tu sabbe bhutanam sabbe satanum sabba sampati siddhya Pavagupadhaya vichetato etanture satakaya papanna rupya rupicha sanya sanino dukkha pamuchantu pusantu niputi. Okay, thank you for your attention. And I should mention that next week there is a class here. We tried to finish the sutta next week. The 22nd, there won't be a class. The 29th, there'll be a class. Free from bondage. Okay, we end with 3 half hours.